G'day everybody, it's Dave from Wing Chun Mind Force. Welcome to another bus talk today. Lovely, cool, windy day here in the start of summer. Usually it'd be very hot, but it's so cool I was wearing a beanie last night. Today I want to talk to all my friends who are starting out in Wing Chun, to all my friends who are isolated in places where there's no Wing Chun, let alone anybody who actually knows the Chu Shong Tin method, the Chu Shong Tin approach, the internal method, the mind-orientated method. I want to give you a special gift today. I made a video about this ages ago, a couple of years ago, about practicing Siu Nim Tau in the mind. And last training session with my student Mark, we did this for the whole 2 hours or so, and I really realized just how super useful and powerful this process is. And I realized that when I started doing this, it was a start of something big for me that's still carrying on. And what that is the experience of the mind moving the body. And this is something that Siu Chu Shong Tin often talked about. Feeling the mind moving, the experience of the mind moving the body. He said, once you feel this experience of the mind moving the body, it becomes one of the great pleasures in life to discover it. And I can absolutely say that's true. But this sounds very out there and difficult and cosmic. And there's other kung fu arts that have all sorts of names for things like this, but I haven't got any names I want to throw at you. I want to show you a very simple practice, and I'd like to shout out to my friends in Africa. I've been amazed by how many African people have been following me on Facebook particularly, and I greet you and thank you. I don't know how you all found me, but I'm very pleased to have you on board Wing Chun Mind Force. And I know many of you feel very isolated, so I want you to just practice this. This is the way to start your Wing Chun in the very best way possible. So just stand. You can have your feet apart if you want. I don't believe in a particular stance. You can point your toes in a little bit if that feels good to you. That can be helpful initially, but really it's not that important. The most important thing is your torso. You stand nice and straight, very relaxed. Feel that you're floating, your pelvis is floating like a ball on water. Your legs are just there sort of hanging underneath. If you imagine you're on top of the water, pelvis is floating like a ball and your legs are just hanging underneath, and maybe your tiptoes are just touching the bottom of the stream, you know, the little rocky sandy bed. Feel your whole torso one thing, connected from that floating base, and at the top and the back of your head, feel that you're rising up above your head. Just feel like you're just a bit taller, and that is just an idea that helps your spine relax and helps start what we call sing, which is the joints relaxing, or the space between the joints relaxes and expands just a little bit and fills with energy. Okay, so that's the starting point. Then what I want to put to you is that if you learn the shape of the Siu Nim Tau form, I'm not going to go right through it right now. I'll put a link at the bottom of this video to Siu Chu Shong Tin performing Siu Nim Tau. He's always the best to go and look at if you want to know how do I do it. Go and look at Siu. He did it many times on video. So learn the shape of it, what we do, how we start off, all of the things we do to do the form. You watch him and copy him. Once you've got that shape down, and it's not rocket science, it's just number of movements, your body doesn't move, you stay in that state as much as you can that I've just talked about. Then I want you to do this. Start off with the simple punch movement, because it's one that'll help you do it. Okay, so what we do is that just glides across, knuckles facing forward. It glides out, lays flat, just relaxed, turn around, closes up and comes back. The same happens on the other side. You don't want any tension in it. You don't want to sort of force it flat, feel like you've got to pull your elbow to the center of you. That doesn't matter. Main thing is just stay empty and relaxed. So once you've got used to that basic movement, I want you to do it once, as I just did, and then I want you to do it like this, just float across. Now I want you to imagine it happening in your mind. Now, this is challenging for some people, but don't expect to feel anything particularly. You will eventually get a real feeling of your mind moving, but I want you to just, having done it once, I want you to then do it in your mind. Okay, so I've just done it. It's an act of concentration. Concentration is key. It's an act of imagination where I've mentally imagined it happening. But as you practice it, you will start to feel it. You'll start to actually feel as if you're doing it. And it's what that feels like is the perfect Wing Chun. It feels like absolutely effortless Wing Chun because it is effortless. You're doing it in your mind. However, that's how we want it to feel when we do it with our body. So once you've done it in your mind and practice that a few times, then do it in your mind and follow it with your real arm. And for me, it's like just slightly after the mind fist starts moving, and then the actual fist starts just following it. Whatever it does, it's like it drops back and then I follow it back. So it feels as if the mind arm is sucking the real arm along, if that makes sense. And then mind hand turns like that, and then the real hand turns round and round, and then the mind arm goes back and the other one goes back. And then the other one comes across. So I tend to just actually physically come to the center. You want to just, everything's dropped out, you swing across really gently, and then the mind hand fist goes out, and then the real fist follows just behind it. So just believe me and go with this. And if you already know the whole form, you can try this for all the parts of the form. You know, for this part, the mind goes, then hands go with it, the mind goes up, that goes up, back. Okay, you can go through the whole form. Now, I got this idea many years ago when I heard a story about Siu Chu going to the movies with Sipo, his wife, and apparently Sipo liked what we call chick flicks, you know, movies for ladies. And Sigong, being a loving husband, just went along with it, but he would do the form in his mind, just sitting there in his chair. And that was an aha moment for me, and I thought, wow, what a great idea. So I started to practice that, and then I came up with this idea, this feeling where I'd do it in my mind, then do it with my body, and sort of following the mind. And what happens is that if you do it for a while, you'll start to feel what effortlessness feels like, and you will feel your mind arm will teach your real arm how to be effortless, and also you'll feel the mind arm, you'll feel a movement. It's very subtle. I'm not saying it's a great, huge feeling, but it can be, but generally it's just a very subtle thing. So don't discount it if it's subtle. Just think, oh, Yep, I can feel that. Just drawing me along. And work on that. And I really believe that this is the start of Chi, the start of mind force, where you can feel the existence of the mind force. Once you feel its existence and you feel it actually happening in your body, then there's further things that happen. And have a look at my videos about the balls in the hand, about doing the form, different ideas. They're all coming out of this idea. And obviously, but not always obviously to everybody, once you get this idea, you can do Chum Q, Bill G, the dummy, the knives, the pole, even Chi Sao in your mind. And I've been known to go through all 6 forms in my mind. And I really do start to feel very strongly that I'm actually doing it. And sometimes I even practice air dummy, where I just imagine there's a dummy there and I'm doing this sort of thing, but I can sort of, in my imagination, but I actually feel contact with the dummy and connection to the dummy's body, even though it's not really there. And so when I get on the real dummy, that sort of flows on with that. So, all my friends, give this a go. If you're really keen, I know heaps of you are super keen to learn Wing Chun. This is something you can do without me being there, or another Chu Shong Tin lineage teacher, if that's what you want, and you should want to learn what Chu Shong Tin taught, because he was the most senior of Yip Man's disciples there in Hong Kong. He was the 3rd disciple in Hong Kong, but he ran most of the classes, and there was a couple of other guys at very, very high level, but Chu Shong Tin was taught by Yip Man the real Wing Chun, which is using the mind. And if Wing Chun doesn't have this in it, then somehow the teachers have missed out. Might even go back a few generations, and that's a pity, but Wing Chun can be extremely effective just as a physical, mechanical art. That's why it's so popular. But this is the real thing. This is the thing that'll transform your Wing Chun from just a great mechanical fighting art into something extremely powerful. So I'll leave it at that. Please ask me any questions below. I'll post this on Facebook and on YouTube. If you're one of my many followers on Facebook, please go to Wing Chun Mind Force on YouTube and subscribe and like and get the notifications bell on. It really helps me out heaps. And I'd love to hear more from you all. Ask questions anytime. Okay, see you later.